We've seen things like jump off of the table without being touched, like things moving on their own, seeing shadow figures being touched. Anything like you would think it was a haunted house growing up, but that's, part of how we explain that this is all spiritual in nature is because it can really manifest in any way that it wants to. And so the phenomenon is not limited to what people think of as aliens or UFOs. Where we were obviously seeing orbs every night as well, we were seeing things in the home that you would think of as like ghostly maybe.
Yeah.
But it was all the same stuff.
When did the orb sightings start? Immediately after?
Never quit. From 2007 that night, it just continued to this
So
day.
from then on, you just started noticing things in the sky?
It was in my face. It was, I mean, I write about it in the book. So many stories that we didn't write about. I wrote 140,000 words for this book, and we published 85 or 90,000. That's including the introduction. So there's a lot that we didn't include. But
Daddy would wake us kids up because Mom didn't really like, the conflict with the phenomenon. So she didn't really encourage the experiences. But Dad would secretly wake me and my two other brothers, Ryan and Jeremy, up at like whatever time of night. And we would go out on school nights at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and just look at orbs in the yard,
Really?
right in our face. And then we would go to bed and go to school the next morning like nothing happened.
some of these orbs would be 50 feet around and 100
In the
yards
yard.
away.
Yeah.
Huge, big as trees. And flying some of them through the trees and sitting out there for hours. We had one blue orb that just stayed there for everybody to walk by the door, and we'd look through the window and see it going through the trees and stuff.
Now, did these orbs make any sounds?
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do. Not all of them, but if they're close enough, you can hear them.
How would you describe the sound?
Like a ringing, like a buzzing, kind of
Buzzing,
energetic.
electrical, sizzling. If you heard, you ever taken a light switch, and when you go to turn it on an old switch, especially, you hear a crackle sometimes when you go from on to off. That's a lot of what it sounds like, a crackling, sizzling sound. Is
there a smell?
No smell.
No smell?
No smell.
And what about the colors? What is the color spectrum of them? What is the range of colors that you see?
Nearly all of them. All of them can change colors. I don't think you hear people say, oh, there's a red one and it's mean, and there's a yellow one and there's an orange one, and these green ones will kill you. I've heard so many people talk about that. But it's from my experience, they're all the same. They're just how they decide to appear in color, but they usually will start out white and shift from white to red. So everything in between, yellow, orange, blood red, back to white, yellow, orange, and that spectrum. But occasionally they're blue. They'll go from red to white to blue, this bluish white light. Not like an American flag thing, but they're shifting red. You'll see the red in with the blue. I have several videos of blue ones. And
what is this photo right here we're looking at?
That far, if you look at Christopher, that's Chris Jr., if you look at his left shoulder behind him where the woods are, that's where I had the encounter with the 3-foot being.
Oh, really?
Yep. And that's where they landed. The orbs landed in my yard. You can see this circle here is 2 years old. The grass still not growing. Wow. It killed the grass except for a little donut in the middle. And those streaks you see behind him are where 2 other orbs came from different directions and scooted along the ground, burning the grass until they sat down and created their circles. So there were 3 of those circles in the yard.
And MUFON tested that as well.
Can you explain what MUFON is?
MUFON is the Mutual UFO Network. And that's who you call if you have a sighting and you want to report it. You call those guys, and or go on their website and you can put your sighting in, and that's what.
So it's basically it's just people scattered around the country that are interested in the topic, and they just donate their time to research it and collaborate.
It's a pretty big outfit, and they have board members, full-time people there, but it's basically a volunteer. The investigators are mostly volunteers there. So, but yeah, they tested that soil. And the funny thing is, the tree back in that back corner, there's a big oak tree in the woods where I run up to it and stood there with this being from me, and the tree just died. The limbs fell, big, huge tree. It's just crumbled down, just like the top of that burning tree. Remember that orb where that orb landed there is 12 feet from the tree.
I'll show you right here. This is well, here's a better photo.
So when it come over the tree, one of those orbs, the one that had the full circle, the other two had tracks leading up to where they landed, right?